So today we are talking about
the Montauk Project.
Montauk Project.
The Montauk Project. Time travel.
Time travel.
Stargates. You ever heard of Stargates?
No.
You ever seen the shows?
Wow, I just drew a major blank.
Oh.
I literally had a word in my head and it just went like Stranger Things. That's what I was going to say.
Stranger Things, yes. Stranger
Things. It was there and then it was gone.
So the Montauk Project, Stranger Things was based off of the Montauk Project.
Mm-hmm.
The Montauk Project, to a lot of people, is not real. It's fake.
Right.
So it was started... Actually, I have the wiki, so let me just read it because this is why I did this, because I didn't want to...
So he brought a tablet.
I have notes this
today
time.
With all his little notes.
I have notes.
Not little, lots.
Lots of notes. So the wiki for the Montauk Project. Montauk Project is a conspiracy theory that alleges there were a series of secret government projects conducted at Camp Hero in Montauk, New York. The purpose was developing psychological warfare techniques and exotic research, including time travel. Okay? So the problem, the reason why it's not verified, is the whole project originated from the books, The Montauk Project, written by Preston Nichols.
Mm-hmm.
Preston Nichols claims that he was in the Montauk Project. Okay?
Okay.
Him and this guy, Peter Moon, wrote these series of books that were all about this whole project. And after they came out, Preston Nichols said that he had repressed memories. So after he was in the project, his memories were wiped or concealed or whatever. And through hypnosis, he was able to start getting back these memories and started to remember that this whole Montauk Project thing. Okay. Now, Preston Nichols and Peter Moon, the guys who wrote these books, both say that there's no way to verify that it's real. They use the word soft facts because there's no way to disprove it. There's no way to prove it. Even they say, you know, you can look at it as fiction or nonfiction. So that's why a lot of people think that it's fake.
So do we know, and sorry if you said this already, but do we know what time period this all took place in?
It says it on there. What? Stories have circulated since the 80s. I'm pretty sure it was like in the 60s through the 80s.
Okay.
You know, it was 20, 30 years, you know, of these guys doing this. At the same time that they were doing all the mind control experiments and everything else.
So all this time since then, we don't have hard facts.
Right. Well, I'll get to that.
You might have found some.
I found some hard facts, which we will get to. But I want to break down this fake Montauk Project first, right?
Okay.
So, experiments in time. So, it's kind of 1992. That's when the book came out, was 92. But the experiments were apparently going
before
on
that
through the 60s, 70s, 80s.
Okay.
So, one of the main stories, now they were doing a lot of stuff in the Montauk Project, but what they were trying to do is they were trying to use psychics and amplify their psychic abilities to do remote viewing, to, you know, find the bad guys around the world without actually having to go find them. You ever see the movie?
Sounds just like Stranger Things.
Sounds just like Stranger Things.
It really does.
Okay. So, also the Men Who Stare at Goats. You ever see the Men Who Stare at Goats?
No.
You ever seen that?
Men Who Stare at Goats.
The Men Who Stare at Goats.
Okay. First I thought that was like one word.
It's
Men Who Stare at Goats.
The Men Who Stare at Goats. It's a hilarious movie. It's good. It's about like the Nazis and, you know, these guys are trying to focus on the goats to kill the goats with their minds. Okay.
Okay.
It was also based off of another project that's part of it, Project Stargate, but it's part of the same thing.
Okay.
So they're trying to use psychic abilities to enhance things, you know, travel through time, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
One of the projects, the time travel thing is weird. It gets confusing. But one of the projects in the Montauk Project was they opened up a time vortex, a time portal.
Mm-hmm.
And this was in the 80s. Okay. So in the 80s, they opened up a time vortex and they opened it up to 1943, what he's looking at here.
Did they do that on purpose? Or we don't know?
We don't know.
Okay.
I would say yes.
Okay.
And there's reasons, there's details that I don't remember all of the details of, but I just remember being like, okay, I think they might have done this on purpose. Anyways, they opened up a time portal to 1943. In 1943, the Philadelphia experiment, what they were trying to do was take this, was it a destroyer? A USS Eldridge was a destroyer. They were trying to make it invisible to radar.
Right.
So they were doing all kinds of different experiments and electromagnetism and blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, one of the experiments went too well. And not only did it go invisible to radar, but it went invisible to the human eye.
Okay.
It completely vanished for a number of minutes. Okay.
One thing that I'm thinking, how would they know that?
What?
That it went invisible?
Because they were watching it.
They were looking at it from another ship or something?
It was an experiment. So I don't know if they were out in the ocean, ship to ship watching it, or if they were in a dock or in a secret place somewhere. But they were trying to make this thing invisible to radar. Poof, it disappears.
Okay.
And then it comes back, I think in Virginia, it comes back like 100 miles away or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How do they know that, though?
What do you mean?
Where it appeared.
Well, I mean, it's a government ship. It's a government project. I'm pretty sure they're keeping...
They knew immediately or they found it later on?
I don't know.
Okay.
Who knows?
Because, yeah, I'm like, okay, this was like way back in the day. They didn't just like call up someone on their cell phone and be like, hey, the ship just appeared. So that's where I'm like, how do they know it appeared there?
Right. Who knows? That could be one of the reasons why people have debunked this as fake. Okay. So I don't know. Again, there's a lot of details and I'm not going to try to read the whole book because it's so many. But anyways, it goes invisible. It pops back up somewhere else. In the process, two guys bailed. While they're in this time vortex black hole or whatever, once it disappeared, apparently two guys bailed off the boat. They were like, fuck this. And they jumped.
Oh.
These two guys apparently traveled to the far future. Okay. And I've read stories that they went to like 2200.
On accident?
Yeah. When they jumped off this thing in this time vortex, it took them to 22 something. Some stories have said 6,000 something. Like they were off in the distant future. Okay. But what happened was when that ship disappeared, before it popped back up somewhere else, it interacted with this time vortex from the 80s that the Montauk Project sent back. Okay. So
what? Hold on.
Yeah.
How?
I don't know, man. Time travel.
That's so weird.
Time travel.
Like, okay.
Time travel. Okay.
I'm listening.
Time travel. So here's the thing. Okay. That's basically like the gist of the story. Like you have this one project in the 40s. They accidentally time traveled this boat, this ship. They also have this other project in the 80s. They accidentally opened a time portal that went back to
those two things.
They linked up.
Clashed.
Right. And so I guess at this moment, that's when they realized like, this is real. We could do this. Right. Okay. And there's a lot of other things that apparently might have happened and blah, 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 blah. Doesn't matter. Okay. So the guy who was in charge of the Montauk Project was Dr. John von Neumann. He was the same guy who was one of the heads of the Manhattan Project, so making the first nuclear bombs. He was also the head of the MK Ultra, so all the mind control experiments. So von Neumann is like, he's the guy. He's the...
Too legit to quit.
What's the mad scientist guy that everybody talks about? I don't know. He's the mad scientist. He's like Dr. Evil. Okay.
Dr. Jekyll?
Sure. Take your pick. Dr. Doom, whatever. That's von Neumann. Von Neumann is this guy. That's right. He's the villain. So von Neumann, he was a mathematician. He was the first one to do computing. So he was the guy who basically came up with like the idea for artificial intelligence, brain machine interfaces. So like the whole Neuralink and connecting your brains to computers. He was into all that stuff. Okay. Right. And he was also into the mind control stuff. Right. So basically, hold on, I lost my train of thought here. Okay, so von Neumann gets all his information from these databases that the government has from Nazi camps. right? Because the Nazis were doing human experiments on people,
right?
All kinds of mind control, you name it. So that's where most of these projects, like the MK Ultra, Project Stargate, all of these things came from this Nazi testing that they were doing, right? So Project Paperclip, when they brought all these Nazi scientists over here, are you familiar with Paperclip? So they bring all these Nazi scientists over to run NASA and all these secret programs, and they start doing these things like mind control, time travel, telepathy, you name it, right? All these things. So again, it's supposed to be fake, but it's not fake. Here's why it's not fake. Here's what I need you to do, Charlie. I need you to look up the analysis and assessment of gateway process. I did the short video that I posted online the other day. The short video was about this document because I was reading just the document by itself, not realizing that it was actually connected to the Montauk Project.
Oh, okay.
So this was like one of those synchronized universal moments where like I'm reading something about something totally different in my mind. Right. Come to find out it has everything to do with the Montauk Project.
Okay.
CIA.gov, top
so
link.
This is like you heard it here first.
You heard it here first.
Moment.
Josh posted a link to a video. Somebody else did this already, so we're not the first. But we're going to do it better.
We can say we are.
Yeah.
We're the first to say it on this podcast.
So, analysis and assessment of gateway process. This is on the CIA's website. This is a declassified document. Now, a couple things we're going to point out at the top on the header of this. It's from the Army Intelligence and Security Command, and it's to the commander of the U.S. Army Operational Group. But where's the location? Fort Meade, Maryland. If I go back to the wiki real quick here, I got it on my notes. If I go back to the wiki for the Montauk Project was at Camp Hero. Hold on, where's it at? Or it might have been the Stargate Project. Yes, Stargate Project, excuse me. The Stargate Project, which is investigations for psychic phenomenon, doing all of the remote viewing, psychic headhunter, so using psychics to do like assassinations and stuff. That's the Stargate Project, part of Montauk Project. That was at Fort Meade, Maryland, and it was headed by a U.S. Army unit. If you go back to that document that we just pulled up, it's at Fort Meade, and it's run by the U.S. Army Intelligence Command. So this is the same people that run Stargate Project, Montauk Project, and they're also doing this gateway process. Okay. Now, what is the gateway process? Gateway process is the Monroe Institute technique for achieving altered states of consciousness, using brain hemisphere synchronization, or hemisync. So what that means is you have two parts of the brain, your left brain and your right brain. If they can match the frequencies, they can sync the frequencies of your two hemispheres of your brain, then they can achieve altered states of consciousness. Okay. And they can do this using hypnosis, transcendental meditation, and biofeedback. So I was looking at hypnosis. What is their definition of hypnosis? Okay. 'Cause to me, hypnosis is like some schmuck. Ooh, right. Yeah. Okay. The part that I highlighted.
Very sleepy.
If the left hemisphere can be distracted either through boredom or through reduction to soporific semi-sleep state. I don't know what soporific means, but if it can be reduced to a semi-sleep state or boredom, external stimuli to include hypnotic suggestions are allowed to pass unchallenged into the right hemisphere, where they are accepted and acted upon directly. So, if they can dumb down the left side of your brain, make you dumb or bored or in a sleep state, then they could feed information via frequencies into your right side of your brain, which you will act on directly.
Weird.
All right. The biofeedback, because this is the other part of how they can do this. It employs the self-cognitive powers of the left hemisphere to gain access to the right brain, instead of suppressing the left hemisphere as is done with hypnosis. So, with biofeedback, you can do this yourself. You don't have to necessarily be programmed or targeted, right, into this deep state where they can control your mind, right? The part
try it.
The part, yeah, right. The part that really killed me a little bit inside. Pain can be blocked, healing can be enhanced, malignant tumors can apparently be suppressed and ultimately destroyed. The body's pleasure centers can be stimulated, and a variety of specific physiological results may be achieved. They can kill tumors.
I believe that, 100%.
So all this time, cancer.
I would so believe that. I very much believe in the, like, your mind and your thoughts control a lot of what goes on in your body. Mm-hmm. So I definitely believe that 100%. That's possible.
So, I mean, that's why it killed me a little inside, because it's like, I mean, we have family members who have died from cancer. So it's like, dude, in the 60s, 70s, whenever this was, I mean, this document was written in the 80s, but this is the assessment and the analysis of all of this thing. So they've known how to do this for forever. How they can kill tumors, like they can enhance healing. Pain can be blocked.
That doesn't benefit them financially.
Right. Well, of course it doesn't, right?
To let everyone know that.
Well, let it be known that they can heal tumors.
Yeah.
Okay. Gateway and hemisync. The gateway experience, which again is the process for achieving altered states of consciousness, is a training system to alter consciousness, moving it outside the physical sphere. Escape even the restriction of time and space. So using this technique, you can literally leave the physical reality. You can leave time and space. Okay? And they've known how to do this whole time. Audio techniques developed by Bob Monroe can induce and sustain hemisync with the Institute's basic Focus 3 tapes. That's in quotes, basic Focus 3 tapes. So the Focus 3 tapes, whatever they are, whoever has them, have the ability to induce and sustain this altered state of consciousness.
So they just keep them like that?
I guess so. Induce and sustain using these tapes. So not only do they know how to do all these things, heal tumors, travel through time, escape physical reality, but they can do it with tapes. This is like from a movie.
That's so weird.
Right?
Yeah. Because, I mean, I'm probably from movies, you see people like in these hypnosis tapes and they're like, you don't want to eat that food, like, you know, to like get skinny or stop smoking. But it's like, it's kind of creepy to think that it stems from something way more real and like serious and like crazy.
Buy the focus tapes.
You can buy the focus tape. Are they legit though, or are they? $500. Because I'll go make a tape right now and call it the Focus 3 tapes.
Well, this is Focus is 1 through 6.
Focus is 1 through 6
on Amazon
for $500. Yeah. All right, here's what we're gonna have to do, listeners. We're gonna start up a GoFundMe. We're gonna get the money together. We're gonna buy these tapes.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
It takes you from Focus 3 to Focus 21.
So where's all the information about the other tapes then? We're only talking about number 3. What's all the other ones?
I don't know, man.
Focuses. I guess those are levels.
I don't know.
This is weird. Because I still, like, secretly, jokingly, but / sort of seriously think I'm, like, psychic in some way. And then I also thought I got abducted by aliens. So it's like, what if they did this to me? And then they wiped my brain like they did that guy.
Remember what I was telling you about the MyLabs, the military abductions?
Mm-hmm.
I have the most important bits here. I'll send to you so you can, and I have them all highlighted too. So.
Oh, they skip.
Yeah,
Look, this is redacted.
Yeah, a lot of it's redacted.
What?
Yeah.
What?
So
what does it say?
This next page that I have here, it basically talks about the same stuff. They're essentially putting you into this theta level, you know, which is like a sleep frequency for your brain. In this way, Gateway endeavors to provide the subject with the tools by which he may alter his consciousness based on his own volition over time through the repetitive use of the tapes, so as to access via intuitive means new categories of information not available to ordinary consciousness. So, I'm not going to go too far off here, but there's a thing called the Akashic Records. You ever heard of this?
Mm-mm.
So essentially the records that exist of the universe of all time.
What does that even mean?
People have claimed that they have reached meditative states, psychedelic states, all types of different altered consciousness states where they have been able to reach into the Akashic records and pull forth information about the universe that wasn't yet known, like looking into the future.
Okay.
Which on one hand I believe, because like I have like this spiritual half of me that thinks like these things are real. On the other hand, it sounds crazy, but then I read this and
it's just, like I don't know, my brain is like, but I don't, what does that mean? Like,
let's say that we live in a simulation or the Matrix. There's a database of all of the information somewhere within this matrix. So apparently you can access this database. And this database encompasses all of time as well. So you can reach.
Did they go into more detail about this database? And like, is it like somewhere you go?
Not in this document.
And you look at
but if you
videos or.
No, I think it's just a download of information.
Like you just learn it. You just leave knowing it, this stuff.
Yeah.
Or
It's like
how
an
can
epiphany.
you prove that even is real? Or you just dreamt it? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Because sometimes I dream things and I think they are real. Like, I've legitimately felt like they happened. And I'll talk about it like it happened. And then someone's like, that never happened. And I'm like, I must have dreamt that. So, I don't know.
Did you type in
I'm going
Kashyyyk?
off on a tangent, but it's just, it doesn't make sense to me. How can you, I don't know. I guess that there's no way of really knowing unless.
It's called the Akashic Records.
Oh, Akashic.
Akashic.
Okay.
Not Kashyyyk.
Kashyyyk?
Yes, I don't know how to explain the Akashic Records. It's not my
Yeah.
thing.
It's just a little.
But apparently there is like a record of the universe that you can get information from.
Strange.
And people from like different religions throughout time have expressed this in different ways.
Okay.
But this document flat out says that, new categories of information not available to ordinary consciousness. So take that as you will. So this is the part of the document that I made the short video of, the consciousness matrix. Okay, this is the part that like blew my mind and I had to make that video. What it says here is the universe is a hologram. That's literally what it says. It says the universe is composed of interacting energy fields, some at rest, some in motion. It is in and of itself one gigantic hologram of unbelievable complexity. It also says the human mind is also a hologram.
What? I don't get it.
Well, remember.
Why are they calling it a hologram?
I don't know.
That's such a strange choice of words to me. Like,
I would have used the word matrix.
And
probably,
how old is this document?
In the 80s.
Okay.
So the universe is a hologram. Your brain is a hologram. And your brain is taking the frequency that the universe is producing. And it's absorbing this frequency. And then that is what we perceive as reality.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's, don't ask me how to explain that any further. But
can we get the definition, like the exact definition of a hologram? I'm just curious why they chose that word specifically. Because you're saying you would choose Matrix, and maybe it's because of the movie Matrix that makes it easy to like relate it.
Process, yeah.
But
hologram, the three-dimensional image formed by the interference of light beams from a laser or other coherent light source. So basically, light projects on matter, creates a hologram, three-dimensional image. So the universe is a three-dimensional image being projected by a light source. And so is your brain.
Oh, dude. The interference of sound.
The interference of light. Sound, electromagnetism, dude. Oh, my brain just melted.
Mine's still trying to catch.
I just melted. Oh man. So and then the last part of this document, it says focus 15, travel into the past. Focus 21, the future. So all of these little bits, well, actually that's not, that just skips right to it. So yes, they're traveling to the past, they're traveling to the future, all with the help of frequencies. Again, you can do this with your own mind. So the psychic, all of the psychic work with MK Ultra and Project Stargate and Project Montauk, all of that ties right into what these guys are doing at the same facility run by the same departments.
Right.
So even though people can go around and say there's no proof of the Montauk Project, these guys wrote a book and even they say that it may or may not be true. And that's
isn't
fine.
some of the stuff they say in the book a little
Probably, yeah, absolutely.
wacko?
I'm sure it is. It's a book.
Yeah.
It's a series of books, of course.
Right.
You know what I mean? But again, they're doing all of the things in the same place by the same people at the same time, run by the same dude, von Neumann. So, I mean, So
it's not that far of a stretch as people try and make it seem like it is.
Maybe the Montauk Project didn't exist. Maybe it was called something else project. You know what I mean? So, so, and then the very last thing here, remember we were talking about with the clones? Just read that top headline.
How far?
Just the part that I highlighted.
Oh, just the part you highlighted. Yeah. The role of REM sleep could guarantee out-of-body movements by bringing participants down into a rapid eye movement, REM state of sleep, and then use hemisync tape technique.
So when we were talking about the clones, remember when I said they had REM clones? And they could pull your consciousness out of your body and put it into another one.
Right.
And it sounded crazy. And I didn't have a way to explain how that could be done.
Yeah.
This document just says REM sleep. They could literally put you into REM sleep and guarantee out-of-body movements.
That's so weird. Why do they put all of this stuff in these documents if they don't want people to know about it?
Well, the document wasn't... It was classified. It wasn't sent to us. It was sent from the U.S. Intelligence Command to the commander of the U.S. Army Operational Group.
Yeah.
So it was two high-level dudes. This guy tasked him with understanding the gateway process. This guy then, years later, wrote back and said, here's the whole thing. And then years and years after that, the documents were released by Freedom of Information Act.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, the Montauk Project, in my opinion, now is definitely real. I was skeptical at first, you know what I mean? I know that there are projects like the Montauk Project and stuff like that, but knowing what I know, knowing that they're doing this at the same place by the same people at the same time, makes me think 100% that the Montauk Project is real.
Yeah.
Did you watch all of Stranger Things? Do you remember the Demogorgon?
Yeah.
How they summoned this creature from another dimension?
Yeah.
Apparently that actually happened.
In that video you sent me, the weird... I think he was talking about some creature that was destroying the place.
Right.
And
so apparently in the Montauk Project, they were using equipment to enhance the psychics, right?
Yeah. And everything that he started thinking was coming into real life, right?
Yeah. So they built what's called the Montauk chair. The Montauk chair was a chair that the psychics would sit in, and apparently they would strap them up with whatever, and then the psychics could think of an object and it would materialize.
Right.
As long as the machine was running, right? Yeah. If they powered off the machine, whatever the psychic was imagining would dematerialize and it would be gone, right?
Yeah.
So what I heard was the end of the Montauk Project, at least at that facility, was that one of these psychics, I think it was Preston Nichols or one of these guys, imagined this interdimensional monster, right? And it materialized and it started ravaging. I think that he was trying to end the project. I think him and a few others were trying to sabotage the project. Oh. So he purposely imagined this monster who started tearing stuff up, eating people, some scary movie stuff, right?
Right.
While that was going on, the other people who were involved with the sabotage were like cutting power cables and like, you know, sabotaging communications equipment like elsewhere on the base. Dang. While everybody was focused on this Demogorgon, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually, once enough power was cut, the machines all started shutting down. This thing phased out of existence. And then after all that, they had to like seal up, you know, the base and all this stuff. And what's crazy is the base is, there's a picture of the Montauk chair, probably. So the Montauk chair, there's a picture. That's probably not a picture. That's probably like an AC unit in an old building or something, but you know what I mean? Like,
it's the chair.
But yeah, that's pretty much the Montauk Project. Now, there's also like theories that the Montauk Project were actually sending children to the far future, like hundreds of years into the future, and leaving them there.
Okay.
I don't know why. I didn't get that far into it. I just read that and I was like, that's...
Like that Greta Thunberg, whatever her name is, girl.
Sure. But it made me think, like, all these missing kids. She was from the
past,
if we
and
have,
now she's here.
If we have 800,000 missing kids in the U.S. every year, almost 1 million. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I wonder if they're sending them into the future.
Now I'm just like, they're being sex trafficked.
Right. So.
Or dead. Who knows?
Let's go to the next level.
Not good stuff.
Let's go to the next level here. You said you've never seen the show Stargates. You're not familiar with Stargates at all. Charlie, are you familiar with Stargates?
That was a great movie.
The movie? Okay, yeah. So the movie. So Stargate.
Oh, wait. Stargate. What is that?
They have like Stargate SG-1, Stargate Atlantis. Like there's a bunch of shows and movies.
No, the movie I'm thinking of is like that comedy version of like...
Spaceballs?
Yeah, Spaceballs. So, nope, haven't seen it.
Yes, you have. Kurt Russell, the dude from Blacklist.
Stargate.
So I've not seen that, no.
It's a great movie.
I mean, look at the cover.
And even if I did, I wouldn't remember it because I've been brainwashed.
Okay, so in Stargate, and somebody's going to yell at me because they probably watch the show all the time.
Oh, it's a show?
Yeah, it's a show.
Okay.
They got movies, shows, whatever.
Not seen that.
But what they have is this, what they call a Stargate. It's a big circle portal that they power up and they walk through it and it sends them to wherever and I think whenever in the universe. Okay.
Yeah, it was like Egypt, but also the future.
Right. It was Egypt and also the future. So here's this theory about Stargates. Okay. Not from the show. I just wanted to give you an image of like what it looks like. See that big circle thing? Stargate. Great.
Okay.
The story goes, aliens came here first before humans.
Wait, in this show?
Or no.
Just in this theory?
In the theory.
Okay.
In the also in the show, I think, as well.
Okay.
But in the theory.
Why is everything a movie, though? That's bugging me.
Predictive programming. They want you to be okay with it. Every single
thing you talk about is a movie.
Here's the
or
thing.
A TV show or something.
Well, they got this from the theory.
Okay. So that's what I'm wondering, too. Like, which came first, the chicken or the egg?
No. And I get what you're saying, but it's all predictive programming. Okay. To me, it's if the seed has been planted, if the things become real, on one hand, you won't believe it. You'll think that it's the movie. On the other hand, you'll be somewhat
familiar,
conditioned
with the idea.
Right. So if aliens showed up tomorrow, you'll be less freaked out than your great-great-grandmother was.
Yeah, because you kind of are like, yeah, they probably exist.
Exactly. Right.
Because you've seen a movie about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So it's all predictive programming. But anyways, aliens came. How did they get here? Who knows? How did they get home? Stargates. So they build these Stargates. It's like a doorway. You build one here. You build one there. You go through it. You end up on the other side. Okay. Now these Stargates can be on different planets, different galaxies, different whatever, across time and space. So some people say that there's a Stargate on Mars. They found Stargates on Mars. That's how the show is too. I think the first Stargate they find, like in Iraq, buried in a cave or something, they go in the Stargate and it comes out on Mars. And on Mars is like all these Egyptian gods and all these things that are like inscribed onto the stone, like they're real. They're actual like alien people or whatever that, are there, and they use the Stargates to travel back and forth through time and wherever they are to get here and back. So some people think that that's why we went and invaded Iraq. It wasn't because of 9/11. It wasn't because of weapons of mass destruction. It was because Saddam Hussein had a Stargate hidden in the Ziggurat of Ur, which is like a big important temple in Iraq, right? Which, if I'm not mistaken, has, since we invaded, been heavily guarded by, the top dudes, probably the super soldiers, right? Are you looking at the Ziggurat of Ur? There you go. Great Ziggurat of Ur. Probably housed a Stargate, because I believe it was an old ancient...
What does the Wikipedia say about it?
The Ziggurat of Ur, Sumerian. Remember, Sumerian is the ones who came up with the whole Planet X Anunnaki. So the Sumerians. So it's a Sumerian temple whose foundation creates aura. That's all in quotes. The Sumerian Ziggurat in what was the city near blah, 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 blah. The structure was built during the early Bronze Age. Crumbled to ruins, restored by kings. The Ziggurat of Ur is the best preserved of the known Iran and Iraq sites, blah, blah, blah. It's just an old temple. It's an old temple. Don't ask me why the theory of there being a Stargate there came up. I have no idea. I just read into it. And again, pretty sure it's being guarded by super soldiers for like the last 20 years. Probably because there is a Stargate there. Because there was no weapons of mass destructions. Saddam Hussein didn't have anything to do with 9/11. It wasn't about oil, because we produce more oil than they produce, or that we get from them at least. You know what I mean? So what was the real reason for us going over there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So...
So I guess soon, to kind of go into this a little deeper, if that's the theory, that none of this has to do with 9/11, why we're over there,
right?
Then we have to do a 9/11 episode.
Oh, for sure.
That it's not real,
for sure,
or whatever.
9/11
job.
We should do like 2.
Do you think episodes. It's not real?
What?
Like it? Isn't there some people that don't think it was actually planes that flew into the buildings? Yeah, I don't think it was. Okay.
I don't think it was.
Whoa, what is that?
Right after World War I.
The excavation of the Ziggurat of Ur.
But what's
began
that
after
circle
World
thing
War
right there? There's a hole in the center of that thing. Or is it just my eyes?
That's just them digging out a hole.
Yeah, it's like a mountain.
There's a hole in the middle. Yeah. Okay.
So right after World War One, right after World War One, they started excavating this thing.
Yeah,
which
first excavations at the site were conducted by James blah blah blah, and after World War One, preliminary excavations were performed.
You know, a lot of things happened right after World War One. I mean, Hitler started going around looking for all kinds of occult ancient knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, World War One wasn't what it was supposed to be. We'll do a whole episode on that too. But World War One was a cover for them to do stuff around the world and take control of a lot of things. Same with World War II. It was just a ploy to take more control, you know, get their hands on more stuff, more knowledge. So there's another story that ties into the Ziggurat of Ur and them protecting the Stargate. Now, what are you owing? I can't see.
Curator. They blocked his page.
They blocked the curator's page.
The site.
They blocked his page.
This website?
No, the person.
Oh, the actual place.
So they're hiding stuff.
Maybe.
No, they're hiding stuff. This is a conspiracy podcast, dude. They're hiding stuff. Okay, they blocked this page.
They don't want us to know.
They don't want you to see it. The facade of the lowest level and the monumental staircase were rebuilt under the orders of Saddam Hussein. He was either trying to get back in there or he was trying to cover up the Stargate that they found. Okay. So the Stargates, here's why the Stargates are tied to Montauk. Because remember, they were using the Montauk chair. They're using equipment to enhance the psychic abilities. Mm-hmm. I think the Stargates are just another piece of that equipment. I think they developed the Stargates in this project, or at least reverse engineered one that they had already found, right? And that's what gave them the ability to do the time travel stuff that they talk about in the document, because they had this Stargate. So, you know, I don't know. If you think about, if you have the ability to travel anywhere and any time, you have complete control.
Right.
The president doesn't matter. Congress doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Nothing matters except for the scientist and the general who was, doing this project. First, they run the world, forget everybody else, So it's crazy. So look up the Giant of Kandahar. So the ancient Sumerians, they believe in the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki are supposed to be giants. The Nephilim in the Bible. The Nephilim are giants. If you look at I think the first verse in the Bible, it says, there were giants in those days, right?
Maybe 6th chapter of
Genesis? Yeah.
But it's in the book of Enoch.
It's in the book of Enoch. It's in Genesis. There were giants in those days. So Kandahar, the Giant of Kandahar. It's K. Yes. Sound it out, bro. There you go, Kandahar. So the Giant of Kandahar story, somebody actually commented it on one of our posts in the group. It reminded me about this, and it totally has a thing. So there's a story that I guess these special forces guys were going to, I believe, rescue one of their buddies or something. They went out to Afghanistan to go do a mission. And when they got there, they came in contact with a giant, a legit giant.
Okay.
And the only thing that these trained, probably super soldiers could do was light it up. There was no, you know what I mean? It was like a giant, lit this thing up. And apparently a chopper came in, took the body away, and that was that. And now there's videos of these soldiers apparently on YouTube that are saying, like, I was there, I witnessed this is real. There's obviously not any real documents for us to look at for this. But so the giants, the Sumerian gods that are the giants, they might be using the stargates. That's why they were in Afghanistan, in the Middle East, Iraq, Afghanistan. They're probably stargates all over the place. You know what I mean? And they're coming here and they're doing things. And they're getting shot up by our super soldiers.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
That's weird. So there's no information on that?
On the Giant of Kandahar?
Yeah.
I mean, there is information on it, but there's not
nothing.
It's not like this document that I showed you.
Yeah.
It's like an official declassified document. Not that I've found. There might be one.
Oh, this is like Snopes going over a...
Snopes. Anybody who tells me Snopes debunked it, I'll laugh at you.
Oh, they're not even claiming to debunk it. They're just basically saying that this is somebody said...
Can't confirm nor deny.
Yeah. The Department of Defense.
Oh, maybe it's fake. I don't know, but, it's interesting.
What's the picture that they're showing?
It's a cartoon image of them wrapping up a giant. So, but yeah,
this guy actually talks. He was there. This guy's going to be there.
I think that they've been using this time travel since the beginning of time because they have time travel. So I think once they figured this out, they went back to the beginning. Okay, that's why you have the same symbolism used now that you had back in ancient Greece and ancient Egypt. So many things, and you could just say, oh, it's just part of the cultures and that, all these things have been brought down,
right.
Sure, maybe, or maybe some schlubs went back in time thinking that they can control everything. If they go back and they make a few changes here and there, and when they come back to our time or even further in the future, they'll be God. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
I can see it. Then I'm like, if they've been able to time travel all this time, then why aren't things already the way they want them to be?
They might be, and things might change every day. You ever heard of the Mandela Effect?
Heard of it.
Charlie, you've heard of the Mandela Effect, right? So some people think that it's because of parallel universes merging. Some people think it's CERN bringing in different information from different dimensions. It's interacting with our information, changing things. I think that the Mandela Effect is just a symptom of time travel. I think when you go back, the butterfly effect, you step on a blade of grass 10,000 years ago, and it has an effect now. And that effect might be something as small as you noticing a slight change in whatever it is that you can find about the Mandela Effect, because there's a million things.
What does it say the definition of the Mandela Effect is?
The Mandela Effect refers to a situation in which a large mass of people believes that an event occurred when it did not. Looking at the origin of the Mandela Effect, some famous examples, as well as some potential explanations for this strange confluence of perceptions, can help shed light. Okay. So basically, some people thought Nelson Mandela died in prison.
Okay.
Like millions of people around the world remember this is like a big day. Mandela died in prison. Oh no. Millions of other people remember him getting out of prison, living for another 1,000 years or whatever, how old he was.
What?
And that he
That's
died
so
later.
weird.
Right. So there's different memories.
I've definitely never heard of this then.
Right. But it goes further than that. The Mandela Effect affects so many things. I mean, if you look up like the list of Mandela Effect stuff.
So it's basically like a bunch of people having the same memory.
That's wrong. Right.
That's weird.
Or like Tiananmen Square. And the Tiananmen Square is another example. A lot of people, millions of people remember that event where this dude was standing in front of the tanks, you know, and didn't want the tanks to go through, and the tank ran him over.
Mm-hmm.
Millions of people remember him getting crushed by this tank. There's videos, and millions of other people remember it where that didn't happen.
These are all Mandela effects.
Are you just reading through the list?
Dude, this mirror on the wall.
Okay, so now this is sounding more familiar now that you're bringing in the Seven Dwarfs thing.
Right. It's not mirror on the wall.
It's the way you remember it, and it's not actually that.
Right.
The effect is when millions of people are all
the same thing.
Right. You want to know the one that got me the most? Look up C3PO. Just look up a picture of C3PO. I'm about to blow your mind.
Levi calls C3PO Sir Goofio.
Sir Goofio?
It's the best. He legitimately thinks that's what we're saying. We're like, it's C3PO, and he's like, oh, Mom.
Okay, what
Sir
color
Goofio.
is C3PO?
Gold.
He's gold, right?
Yeah.
Bronze, gold, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He's always been gold, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since we were kids. Guess what? He's not. His right leg is silver. Look close.
Hold on. Well, I'm not a big Star Wars person,
leg, right?
but
like,
one
his
of his legs
is silver.
Is silver. That's so
I'm
weird.
telling you right now, I have seen Star Wars more times.
I had his toy.
I had the toy. The toy was all gold.
So, what is the theory like saying that this Mandela effect is then?
It's alternate timelines.
Okay.
So if you and I go back in time right now, we just
it's affecting certain people's lives, is what you're saying, and not everyone's?
I don't really know.
And change like their memories of things? Or?
I guess. All I understand is that when you leave this timeline, this timeline keeps going. But once you step into you've just created a whole nother timeline when you jump into another time. So you created all of history up to that moment by doing this. And then when you start making changes, you know, these are parallel timelines. So there might be information that bleeds. Remember, everything is a hologram and it's all frequencies and vibrations. So there's no reason to think that this information can't bleed into one another. So...
See, I guess in this Mandela effect, I kind of think like, okay, well, maybe somebody gave wrong information and it spread enough that some people thought he died, and then other people never heard that.
Right.
And whatever. And then the other things, like those stupid little ones about the mirror on the wall, I'm like, autocorrect. It's like your brain is making it what you want it to be.
And it could be.
What feels better, you know?
It totally could be.
And people think a lot alike, whether we want to believe that or not.
I would agree with that, except for the C3PO thing. And the reason for that.
Why? Because it's like, that's the same concept in my mind, is like, it's irritating that one of his legs is silver. Now that I'm looking at it, it pisses me off. He's got to be all gold. You know what I mean? Like,
but he's not.
But I'm saying you keep telling yourself that and you're going to believe it. Because then you're going to stop seeing it, you know?
The thing about it is, like Charlie said,
his leg cannot be like silver. That's so annoying.
Well, like Charlie the OCD. Said, we both had the toy. So it's not like we just didn't catch it in the film. The lighting wasn't right. But I'm saying
it's like mental autocorrect. Like it needs to be gold. So you just force yourself to think of it as gold.
When they write those sentences and there's something spelled wrong in it
right. You just automatically fix it. You
just see it. Yeah.
You don't even realize it's wrong because your brain knows to fix it.
Right. And I see that. And I could also see how that could explain the whole thing away.
Mm-hmm. I'm really good at explaining things away.
But remember, Hasbro or whoever was doing the Star Wars toys, they had to, I mean, dude, you're making a C-3PO action figure. Not just one, they made 10,000 different variations of this thing. Mm-hmm. And each one of them had to go through a board of approval from people from Lucasfilm that had to say, yes, that looks like C-3PO and that qualifies as a toy. So all the toys
are gold?
Yeah. I think now you can find new ones that have like him with a silver leg. But if you go back since the 70s.
Did you go back and watch the movies and look?
Yeah, and they're silver.
Okay.
And I have the original.
Because now I'm like Photoshop.
Jade, I have the freaking VHS versions. Okay. And I watched them to test this. And in the VHSs, his leg is silver.
Well, maybe the people that made the toys, maybe it bothered them too. So they were like, we need to make that leg gold.
Maybe.
Like, why did you guys do this?
Or maybe they're traveling really through time, like they say in this document, and it's creating alternate timelines. I can prove that they're traveling through time.
Yeah. I don't know. It's all very weird. But, yeah, I don't know. Because the Mandela thing is weird. When did all of that occur? Because I'm not
I think he was supposed to have died in the 80s, and then he died in like 2013 or something like that.
And people were like, I thought he was already dead.
Right, exactly. That's what spawned the whole Mandela effect.
Oh, so it's not even that old of a
here's another thing, too.
Theory.
So, like the Stargate, right? CERN. I want to do a whole episode on CERN. But, you know, CERN is a Stargate, I think. That's what they're doing. There's a talk from the guy, I think he was like the head of CERN. And he flat out says on video, we're looking into other dimensions and we're bringing back data. Mm-hmm. We're retrieving data from other dimensions and returning it to this dimension.
Returning it.
So this isn't like you're just pulling data from a computer or like from over there. Like this is a different dimension, different physics, different molecules, different everything. This is a different dimension. So if you pull some of that info into this dimension, what happens? Like who knows like what kind of, it's like a computer. If we live in this hologram, just matrix, right, which we do, and you bring in some outside code into this matrix, what happens? You have a bug or a virus. So the Mandela effect could be just that. It could just be a bug in the system. It could be a glitch in the code.
In the matrix.
Deep. What are you looking at focusedly?
Yeah, he's like scrolling.
Shazam thing, but they actually went and found like one of the Mandela effects is that Shazam was a movie with Sinbad, and they say that movie never existed, but then this person just found it on VHS.
Wait, what?
So people are proving that this is a real
Shazam. That's not what it was called.
Yeah, what? There was a movie called Kazam with
Shaq.
And that one of the most famous Mandela effects is that people think that the movie Kazam with Shaq is actually Shazam with Sinbad.
But there's no movie called Shazam.
Well, that's what they've been saying for 20 years now.
There actually is.
So it's not a real Mandela effect.
Right.
Even though it's one of the, like, it's a very...
Because I would have said, yes, there is a Shazam with Sinbad.
Yeah. Some of these, look, man, there's a lot of them that I've heard, and I'm like, you know, like...
You could just tell somebody it didn't exist, and they go, oh, wow, that's crazy. Even though we watched it.
Right.
I mean, this came on a Disney Channel.
I remember seeing this movie.
With Jonathan Taylor-Thomas.
I remember watching it.
Yeah, I've seen it, and I don't remember anything. I remember that.
But you could literally, people have said that movie didn't exist, and I was like, oh.
No,
I'll just
not me.
I'll falsify a memory.
Not me.
I don't remember it good enough.
Well,
because I'll make up memories.
Look, man,
too.
Some of the Mandela effects are really good, and some of them are crappy.
Well,
you know what I mean?
To the way that you were talking about, like how some of these people, the government can dismiss a lot of this stuff.
Oh yeah.
The memory is that faint.
Yeah.
Well,
here's another thing. What they could be doing. Maybe it's not time travel, and maybe it's not.
Mandela did that.
Maybe he did. Well, look, here's what I'm going to say, right? Maybe it's not the time travel.
Maybe he died, and then they tried to make it like he didn't die, and then he died again just to throw everybody off.
Or maybe.
I don't know why.
Hear me out. The 5G.
Okay, what?
The 5G, what does it produce? Frequencies. What can they do with frequencies? They can do the hemisync. They can sync your brain.
Ew, stop.
And they can do all of these things
That's freaky.
Using hemisync with certain frequencies.
Yeah.
Who has done the research to decide that the 5G isn't harboring this frequency that they can use to put us all into a sleep state, a theta state, so that they can pump us with information? Remember when I said on episode 1, Project Bluebeam, that they could put the thought and the feeling of Jesus coming back into you, and you'll hear him speaking in the dialect that you would expect him to speak in. How can they do that? Using these frequencies, hemisync, they can put the information directly in. You won't even know. It's just there. Boom. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's crazy. What is the deal with the 5G, though?
That's a good question, man. A lot of people have a lot of theories on the 5G. I would like to do a whole episode on 5G. I don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
Except I don't trust it.
Yeah. Because isn't there, like, first of all, is it out already in some places? Not everywhere, right? And there's been, I think what I've heard is that there's been health issues.
Oh, yeah.
That have happened in the places that 5G exists. So it's like, I guess it's, if you think of it like that, it's not that far-fetched to think that if a signal is that strong that it can mess with people's health, just a signal, that it can do other things.
Remember
purposefully.
Do you remember when they
or
told
maybe
you,
the health stuff is purposeful too.
Right. Well, it probably is. Do you remember when they told you not to hold your cell phone up to your head because you might get a brain tumor? Remember that?
Yeah.
Well, now you got Wi-Fi routers and you got 5G towers. I mean, and people have done the studies on how much, like, you know, I don't know if it's radiation or whatever it is that they're getting off of this, you know, the electromagnetic radiation off of cell phones. And they've done the studies to show that, like, your Wi-Fi router or, like, your, you know, all these different things are putting out, like, an astronomically higher amount of this. You know what I mean? So, I don't know, man. And I've also read, maybe it's true, maybe it's not, that they were testing 5G on rats, you know, years and years ago. I remember reading this like 10 years ago, that they were testing like the 4G and the 5G on rats, and it was causing brain tumors and all kinds of stuff on the rats. But the thing is, so people will be like, oh, it has to be safe. They test it to make sure it's safe, and then it's approved by, like, whoever, the FDA and all these. Okay, but look at who's on these companies, on these boards of these companies who approve things as safe. Yeah. And look at what else they're involved in. Look at where their money is coming from.
They're going to be getting your money, the health issues they cause you. They're probably on these, you know, drug companies and all of these other things, you know, like the cancer medications.
Do you think Bill Gates cares, like, truly down deep inside? Do you think Bill Gates cares if everybody gets vaccinated and they don't get COVID?
No, it's not about people not getting COVID.
What he cares about is the fact that he owns patents, and if he makes a vaccine for this disease, that he will make billions of dollars.
Yeah.
You know, that's what he cares about. And it goes the same thing for all these other things. You know, that's why they can use this Focus 13 tape or whatever it is to cure tumors, but they won't. They'll just give you chemo and all these other things.
Am I breathing really loud? Sorry.
What is this? Guys. High exposure to radio frequency radiation linked to tumor activity in male rats.
I don't know what
Who knows what frequency? That's the thing. But all we know is that there are frequencies that can cause tumors. There's frequencies that can kill tumors. There's frequencies that can control your mind and travel you back in time. Dude.